So I wanted to come back on and do another update. I apologize for my sniffles. I just came from a baby shower with like 5 cats, and I do not agree with cats, and I feel like I'm dying right now. But anyway, so the last time I talked about how I had gone to the doctor and they were worried about my liver levels, and they diagnosed me with IBS. So today is the 11th of November, Saturday. So I went to the gastroenterologist on Wednesday, and he basically said that IBS is a diagnosis of exclusion. So he wanted to exclude a whole bunch of other things. He was also really concerned about the liver numbers. That he was actually pretty well read on PCOS, because I talked about that in the very beginning and how I wasn't surprised that it would be IBS because they're connected. And he said that, yeah, he was aware of that, and that's probably true. But he did have to check everything else. And then when he was talking about the liver numbers, I told him about how PCOS can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And he was pretty aware of that too, which was surprising. My own doctor has been pretty unaware of a lot of things, but this butthole doctor knew everything. So he decided that he was going to run a whole huge amount of tests. So in my family on my dad's side, there are several people who have lupus. At least 2 people I know of for sure. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm not positive. So since there is that family history, he's worried about autoimmune things because of my liver numbers and how elevated they are. So I did blood tests for all different kinds of liver issues and for autoimmune disorders as well. I also had to go in and do an ultrasound on my liver yesterday morning. So I had to go without drinking for 6 hours, went straight in the morning, and they did an ultrasound, and it was really actually pretty painful. And it took quite a while. It was a good 30, maybe 40 minutes that it took them to go through and do that scope or that ultrasound. He also pulled a bunch of blood tests to make sure about like digestive things. So he was ruling out Crohn's disease. He said that he was a little worried about that because of the way things are kind of presenting themselves. But we'll see with that. He also is checking for celiac disease, but I talked to him a little bit about how there's gluten intolerance with PCOS, but still something he wants to check. He was checking a couple other things, I believe, but those were the big ones that he was looking for. So yesterday morning I went in for the ultrasound and then went ahead and went in for a fasting blood test afterwards. They took like 9 vials. It was ridiculous. So all those tests were taken care of, and I actually had to take back a stool sample this morning, which was the most fun thing I've ever had to do in my life, was figure out how to get that taken care of and then drive with my little baggie of shit in my car. So that's taken care of. All those tests should start coming back next week. I have my colonoscopy scheduled for November 30th, which is about 3 weeks from now, so the week after Thanksgiving. I'll be doing that, so I have to kind of change around the days that I'm taking off of work, but it'll be fine. So that'll be taken care of completely, and it's kind of nice that it's happening at the end of the year, so I'm not having to pay much out of pocket. And like I said, things are changing insurance-wise, so this is a good time for all of that kind of stuff to happen. After all of those tests come back, he will call me back in. We'll go over all of the tests. If it shows that none of those things that he's testing for are there, we're going to assume that it's IBS, and he's going to have me go on the FODMAP diet. I didn't really have any idea what he's talking about, but basically I'm cutting out gluten and lactose. He said that I can have some cheeses, but I know that personally a lot of cheese bothers me, so I won't really be doing that anyway. It takes out high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, and just sugars in general, basically. A lot of fruits are taken out, seed fruits, so avocado and all of that fun stuff. But then it goes so far as to say I can't have garlic or garlic powder or salt. Same with onions, onion powder, onion salt. So there are a lot of things that I'll be going without. So I'm sort of dreading that. But at the same time, I'm weirdly excited. So what would happen would be I would go on this diet for 6 weeks very, very strictly. So I can't have any slip-ups. I absolutely have to be completely clean, eating according to this low FODMAP diet for 6 weeks. And after everything has gone for 6 weeks, basically what happens is it realigns your gut bacteria. Because what he said is happening with IBS is a lot of the gut bacteria are not working the way they're supposed to, or they're overworking in some ways, which I'm well aware of. I know that I should probably be using a probiotic, but I can never find the right one. There are a lot of oils and things that I should be using a little bit more often, but I haven't really committed to it. So he's going to be going over all of that kind of stuff. That'll happen for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, then week by week, we'll add in 1 to 2 things back into my diet to start to find the triggers, and then I just avoid eating those foods. So I'm really excited about I guess not the diet itself, because obviously that's going to suck really bad, not being able to eat very much of anything, but I'm excited for the principle of the whole thing, because I feel like it will be sort of like a cleanse. I was thinking, like, with the colonoscopy that I have to go through, like, my whole body will actually be cleansed, and I was like, oh, that's a great start to start eating right, but I do have to wait for him to say what he needs to say about that. So I'm really excited because everything will be completely aligned, and I feel like that's a really good starting spot to have everything aligned, everything where it needs to be. I will have gone through sugar detox because it's the role of sugar when it comes to PCOS and the insulin resistance is huge, and it's more addictive than crack, and there is that withdrawal period. So in that 6-week period, I will have gone through the withdrawal from sugar, just like I'd gone through the withdrawal from caffeine. I went through that, a few months ago, and I haven't really had it since. And I think there are 2 times that I've had caffeine since then. I can feel it, and it's just not worth it for me. So that was a process that I went through over and over and over again. Like, I would stop caffeine for a while. I would be miserable. I'd have headaches and shakes for days, and then I would eventually be back on caffeine again. So with some of the things that are going on in my life, there have been little temptations for me to try caffeine again, but I sleep so much better and I feel so much better just in general that it's not worth it for me to go back and start having caffeine again. So I'm really excited to feel what my body feels like completely away from sugar, and I think it would be interesting to see how that works out, and I would really like to keep it out, because I know, having PCOS and the insulin resistance part of that, I know that I cannot have that. So really excited about that, because I know that, just being honest with myself, that's something that I struggle with so much. I struggle with binge eating. I struggle with self-sabotage. And my first way of sabotaging myself is through my diet and my weight. Excuse me. And for me, I know that I am not to a place yet where I can actually commit to that. And I always find excuses for reasons why I can't fix my diet and why I can't take care of my body. And I feel like now I have very expensive medical visits and an entire medical team who is really paying close attention to this. So I have to really be invested, and I know it's going to be difficult, but I just have to commit. And I feel like, everything is just sort of aligning together, and I've made up all the excuses that I possibly can, and it's just time for that. So health-wise, that's where I'm at. All my tests are in. I don't really have another doctor's appointment until after my tests and stuff come in, and I don't know if I'll hear from them before the colonoscopy or after. I would hope before, and I kind of assume maybe at least hear about the blood test for my liver and immune function things. I'm interested to see how that is, because again, I've not really done anything other than use essential oils, and I know that my liver, the levels that were really high had lowered themselves, so I'm kind of interested to see where things are with that. I'm not too worried. Everybody keeps saying, well, don't worry, it's going to come out fine. I'm not really worried about that. I know exactly what it is. The only thing that I'd be interested in seeing what, like, the celiac test comes out, because I don't think that I have Crohn's. I have clients who have Crohn's, and I don't. I know that's not what it is. But I am interested in seeing how the celiac test come back, because I know that I have a gluten intolerance. I know how my body feels when I have gluten, so that'll be interesting too. So that's where I am on the physical side of things. Oh my goodness, I'm so stuffed up. Emotionally, it's been a rough week. There are lots and lots of things going on. I've started blogging, so writing a little bit. I haven't done it too much this week. This week has not been a week where I'm really practicing a whole lot of self-care, and I know that I need to be. It's just been a really rough week. It feels like everything's kind of crashing down around me for reasons that I can't talk about, and then, work and all that kind of stuff. So not been the best week in terms of self-care and taking care of myself emotionally, but honestly, I can't take care of everything all at once when things are crashing down. So what I have done has been very patient with myself and been just sort of accepting of things and just saying, you know what, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm worried about today. Everything else can just wait. So that's where I'm at with that. I guess I will update when I start getting test results back. But I am excited to start getting some answers.